I've been fortunate to meet and spend time with some of the most interesting people in the world and have been enamored with their stories. You may have read these stories, heard these stories, or even seen them, but at the dawn of a new format, you can truly spend a day in their life. Right before the journey started, I worked at CD101, an alternative rock independent radio station in Columbus, Ohio, fighting corporate radio at every turn. I hosted The Late Show, which was an eclectic mix, but most people just remember all the things the listeners did for tickets. They also had the big room for bands to play in, but it also had a basketball hoop, which made work very, very fun. I was also the production director and adored this family, and looked for every excuse not to leave. But life had other plans, and the official Journey.com began. However, they were never far from my heart, and I came back often to visit. But in 2010, they faced insurmountable odds. They were forced to change frequencies which would tank their ratings. They were forced to find a new building within months. And the heart of their station, Andy Man, died suddenly. The owner at the time was done, and who could blame him? But one man refused to let it die, and not only took the whole station over, he physically ripped out the soul of their building, doors, windows, and everything, and reinstalled it in the new place like a heart transplant. It's a crazy story. You may recognize him from Fastest DeLorean. Hell, he's the only reason we were in that parade. We've been friends for 25 years, and I finally got to ask him why. What possessed him to continue this fight when it was so clear to everyone else that the station was finished?
Andy died July 18th of 2010. We switched from CD101, the original CD101, right, to CD1025.
Right.
So, toward the end of the year, that 2010 year, we were going to move to a different frequency, but the previous owner was kind of done. And, I was left with this feeling of, okay, so exactly what am I going to do? I've done this for 20-something years of my life, and is this what I'm going to, I have to do something. I have to do a job. I'm not independently wealthy. So what am I going to do? So if the job was going to vanish, like that particular one, so was I going to go work for iHeart? Probably not. I imagine iHeart's going to be like, no.
Right.
So then what am I going to go do? So I had to invent the job. So I said, well, why don't I just reinvent the job? So when we kind of found, we searched for the place, found it, and found a new sort of home, the location we're in now. And it was like, well, that's where we're going to have a radio station. And the idea of just sort of continuing it was not that hard to do. Because again, I had to have a job. And this is what I did. It's sort of like, and I don't equate this with like the arrogance, but you go to med school and you become a doctor, you then suddenly switch jobs and become like an accountant.
Yeah.
You're a doctor. You were trained to be a doctor.
Why didn't you just try to become the promotions director at the new place?
At what new place? There was no place.
He was really going to just shut it down.
Yes, there was no new place. That's the thing. He wasn't going to do it anymore, and somebody else owned the signal. Oh. So exactly what was I going to do? There was no new place. It's sort of, I had to invent my own thing. There wasn't a place. Yes, that's hot chocolate.
I know. I have an inside joke with a friend about getting hot chocolate and said, at least you do add coffee. I appreciate that part of it.
Right. Right, what was I going to do?
Yeah.
I was kind of stuck in this space.
Right.
So, yeah, I just had to invent it. So I invented the job.
Right.
That's what you do, right? You reinvent yourself.
So did you have to take out a big loan? How the hell do you buy a radio station?
I only bought the intellectual property. I only bought the IP. So because the fact that, again, I don't have the money to buy the tower, the signal, they're expensive. That's the license part. So I don't own that. I still rent it.
Right.
I rented it as 1025 and I rented it as 929. So I don't have the actual license. So that's rented. And again, that's the problem. It's expensive.
There's more up there.
You want a little chocolate milk?
Chocolate milk in your coffee?
Oh, go for it. It's so good.
I don't know about
It's like
that.
it's like sugar
All right,
and
give me
sweet
a little
savour.
bit.
It's the best. Trust me, it's much better.
He's right.
That's not bad.
Right. It's cream and sugar simultaneously with a little hint of chocolate. It's a mocha. See, and just like that, a fan.
A fan. How, when you changed locations, were you able to literally take the construction away from? I mean, were you able? Like, is that legal to just rip out the fucking walls and shit?
So, yes.
Oh.
Because I asked the building owner.
Oh.
So the developer, Schottenstein Construction Line Management, we knew we were going to get kicked out April 1st of 2011. There was no question about that. It's like, you're going to get kicked out 2011 on April 1st. Okay. So finding a place, basically I said, okay, I need stuff. I can't afford a lot of the stuff. And the thing's already there. What are you going to do with a studio window?
Yeah.
In particular, some of the weird things. Like those are bank vault windows.
Oh.
Okay? It took me a minute to figure out what they're, but one day I realized they're, because they
probably
say...
realized when you're trying to take them out.
Well, they're made by a place called Armor Light. So when I researched, I'm like, oh, they're bulletproof windows.
Oh, God.
So they're like 3 layers with a sandwiched plastic polymer in between them. It's because they're bank vault windows, they're soundproof.
Oh.
That's why we bought them initially. They're super expensive, obviously, and they weigh a ton.
And so they were just going to be demolished
They were
anyway.
just going to throw in a warehouse or just dump everything. So I said, hey, look, you're just going to gut this and put something else in here. And, I had a good relationship with him, and I said, can I have it?
Yeah.
And he said, what? And I said, everything? Literally.
Yeah.
So he was like, I guess. So I took everything.
Yeah,
I took the doors.
Right.
I took the door frames. The door frame alone with the door is $1,000.
Right.
There's 10 doors, 12 doors.
And that's when we walk in here.
Right.
There's something about the soul of a station.
Because it's everything.
Yeah.
It's all the stuff.
Yeah.
It still exists. So it's all the things. It's the parts. It's the pieces. I always equate it to, and I've said this before, and I'll say it 100 times, it's like The Shining.
Right.
Because it's always been here. I'm a pack rat, so I saved it all.
You expect like the records and all that kind of stuff, but
Right.
it is a specific feeling for someone who only knew the old place.
Sure.
To see those door jambs and that color.
Well, that's the thing that's so weird. There's so many weird things that happen. This is the color that they were at the old station.
The Whirly building.
At the Whirly building, right?
Right.
This is the color. Okay? So when I started to take apart this building to things, these support beams were boxed. They had drywall and stuff around them. When I tore them open, that's what color they were.
Whoa.
They were the exact same color as the door jambs. And I'm sure that's a construction thing. It's probably like the prime coat.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. It's the primer they put on. But they were the exact same color. So it was just kind of like, okay, that's weird. I didn't cut this.
Right.
This was made for a space that was in the old radio station.
I remember.
Specifically, the specific width. So the 2 end posts and then the cage covers it.
Right.
Was only made for a very specific location. It's the exact size.
Yeah.
It's exactly the right size. This thing behind you, it's the exact length of the wall. To like this,
Yeah.
this is, my pinky isn't that wide.
Right.
But it's where all the papers hung before.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just weird stuff that just was like, okay, how weird. Like this room,
Yeah.
this was here. This little square room was here with all of its own power access and everything. It was their office, but it's perfect for engineering.
Wow.
It's the exact right size. It's got its own electricity. It's got its own air conditioning. It's perfect because it's made to do just that.
Gotcha. What was this building before?
This was the Swiss Club. So this was a heritage club where basically just like, there's a German club, there's an Irish club, there's an Italian club. This was the Swiss club. There was a lot of Swiss immigration into the middle of the country in the 40s and 50s because of World War II. This was the restaurant part of their club. So again, there was nothing up here. This was just a big empty space.
And then you were obviously like, this is the big one.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and again, see, it's so weird because it lent itself to what it is today.
My way, shine a light my way. I'm having such a dark, dark, dark Saturday. Shine a light my way. It's such a dark, 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 dark Saturday. Dark, 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 dark Saturday. Dark, 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 dark Saturday.
If someone said rebuild this, I'd probably build it kind of similar to what it is. I wouldn't change a whole lot because there's no need to. So there's an entrance where the bands load in.
Yeah.
So the bands come up the back stairs and they load in. And then there's this weird room that was just sort of back here in this big room that...
It's a green room. Literally.
Literally. So, I mean, it was just perfect because it's just where it's situated.
Yeah.
It's behind the stage.
Yeah.
You know?
We didn't have a green room at the last place.
No. And I made secret things, so secret things.
All right, what's that? It's not going to be so secret anymore. What the fuck did you just do? What?
Scooby-Doo room. What? Everybody needs a Scooby-Doo room. Right?
What the fuck did I just witness?
Doesn't everybody need a Scooby-Doo room? So,
that's the best thing ever, dude.
Right, so it's a hidden room. It's, if you look, it's where I put all the stuff.
All the stuff. You can't have enough storage.
Right, so it's got all the tables and the chairs, and because I can seat 100 people in there, so
well,
we have to seat people. It's the Scooby-Doo room.
When the apocalypse comes, you kind of just gave away your hiding space,
yeah,
dude. I'm
well,
sorry.
You know, sorry, it's all right. But right, it's the Scooby-Doo room. And it gets weirder because of, again, proximity of things just in the middle of the room. Like, why?
Well, open it.
But it's perfect because, look.
Oh, it's so cool.
It's again, this, you need all this stuff for the stage,
yeah.
But it's like right here.
It's already here,
Like,
yeah.
why would it be here? It's just like, okay.
Well, I mean, for a restaurant, I can see some things you'd need
I
right
guess.
offhand. But yeah, no, it's perfect for this.
Right, but so, yeah, but for a stage, it's like, okay, here's where all the cabling goes.
You know, when I walked in here, because I came in like right when you moved in, right?
Yes.
And I remember, I think it was, I know exactly when it was June 2011. And, you know, you had that gut feeling in your stomach it wasn't right.
Sure.
10 years later,
Oh, yeah.
this feels so much better than the last place,
Sure.
Randy. I can't even
Well,
express
it's built to be this.
Yes, it's unbelievable how good this is.
It's built to be this. It's built to be a radio station.
with the bar prop.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
It feels like the local independent badass rock station that I worked at, and I was proud to work at.
Well, it was funny because, you know, when I started there, I started as an intern, and it was, even though radio wasn't new, it was like a startup.
Oh yeah.
You know, what everyone considers a startup today, because there was no rules. It's like, what do you guys want to do? It's like, well, I like environmental things. Great, we made the green team, and we did environmental things. We still do.
Well, and the format was a startup.
The format was new.
Yeah.
So all the parts and the pieces that we brought with us are just sort of that energy of that entrepreneurial spirit. That startup just came with it.
An amazing thing has happened in these 30 years, and if you listen to the station, you'll understand. That new format of alternative rock is now also classic, which means you can spin records in a 30-year window and interject new blood within the nostalgia. And they've kept their relationships with labels this whole time. Touring bands want to perform here before a show when they're in town because airing a big room show can double their sales. Spins at CD 92.9 just mean more. Advertisers are hitting a listener base that actively wants to support them, as opposed to them being an annoyance on other stations. That's what radio is about. And all that's left is raising enough money to buy their signal outright so they're not stuck in the rent-raising hell so many of us understand far too well. If there's anyone who can make that happen, it's Randy.
Hi, buddy.
My job is to get you working. Do you mind?
I am working!
No, I want
What
that.
I'm doing! I gotta open the door for the band!
I know, I want to see the real Randy who's pissed at everybody that's yelling at him. How you doing, man? And if you happen to have a couple million lying around, I've got a hell of a story for you. Actually, you just lived it. Oh, and there's a lot more of these. Please check out my other VRLOGs and subscribe and comment. It means the world to me.